Your topic is fairly dense, so I want to talk briefly and maybe give the audience, if they haven't read your book or seen your course, an overview of what Pendulum is and what's happening today because of it.
So my co-author, you mentioned Roy H. Williams, he's known as the Wizard of Ads. He owns the fourth largest ad agency in North America for buying radio advertising. He only has 12 employees, but he's a legend as it pertains to marketing and advertising. And so he owns the fourth largest ad agency in North America for radio. I own the largest book marketing agency and platform building agency in the world. And back in the early 2000s, Roy and I were sitting, and he's actually my first, by the way, first New York Times bestselling author, but we were sitting and talking about how do we give our clients a competitive advantage. And the answer was, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could predict the future? Because if we could predict the future, then we could get our clients to be able to get out in front of the trends. And so with that, Roy's a strong evangelical Christian. And he said, in Solomon, King David said, the thing that has been is that which shall be, and that which shall be is that which shall be done. And there's no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It has already been of old time, which was before us. So with King Solomon's words ringing King David's words singing in our ears, we said, cool, let's come up with a hypothesis and then go out to disprove it. And our hypothesis was there has to be a pattern in the way that society changes its ideology from one ideology to another. And the reason why societal changes are important to a marketing and advertising agency is that selling is always done in an intimate environment, one-to-one or one-to-few. Marketing and advertising are always done one-to-many in a non-intimate environment, whether it's print, radio, TV, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google. Those are all non-intimate environments. And you can emulate it. Here on this call, this is an emulation of intimacy. You're interviewing me, gives the viewers the opportunity to engage through you with me. And then ultimately when we do the comment, when they do the questions, there'll be some engagement, but it's an emulation of intimacy. It's not the actual intimacy that you and I are sharing. And so looking at societal trends is important as a marketing and advertising professional. And the first work that we did is we looked at the works of Strauss and Howe with Generations and Fourth Turning and Faith Popcorn and several other folks. And we found that there was really good material there, but that they were directionally correct, but not precise. And they had all sorts of exceptions. And so what we did is we went back and researched the last 3,000 years of recorded Western civilization, looking for a pattern in the way that society changes its ideology from one mindset to another. And we at the time believed that it would be kind of a directional movement. And when we actually got into the research, we found out that human beings, in groups anyway, are not unique snowflakes. We do the same predictable things over and over and over and over again. And so in the research that we did, it was qualitative and quantitative, we found that there's these two 40-year cycles, a 40-year cycle about me, the individual, and a 40-year cycle about we, the community. And neither is better than the other. They have pros and cons. But really what Pendulum discusses is the psychological and physiological shifts from one ideology to another. And really what happens is human beings always take a good thing too far. So there's a beauty in a me. Me's about freedom and self-expression and looking and feeling good and enjoying today. But when you take me too far, we become a society that's plastic and phony and a society of posers, right? We just become fake. There's a beauty in a we, right? And when we're in a we, it's about coming together and doing what's best for society as a whole. But when we take we too far, in groups, we start to demonize other groups. I'm okay, you're not okay, and we demonize the other groups. And we know that at the height of, based on our research, at the height of a we cycle, that within 10 years of the zenith in either direction, that every single witch hunt in the history of the world has happened. So we call it a mini cycle of the witch hunts, which we're currently in now. And so by being able to figure this out and map that out, what we're able to do, there's certainly cultural implications of this, but from a business standpoint, we're able to give our clients a competitive advantage because we know where we are versus where we've been versus where we're going. And we know, based on this model, what the values of society is in each of these subsets of the movement of the pendulum.
We talked a little bit, we're in this we cycle, we're talking about being real and human and trustworthy and authentic, and eventually we're going to hit the zenith and we're going to be coming back the other way. So is there a point where like businesses are going to have to move away from this human trustworthy messaging and move back into this other to capture the next generation of business? Or what are your thoughts on?
Good question. So by 2033, we'll have we'll start seeing a reasonably large subculture, right? And if you want to use me tactics, then you want to start doing that in about 2033 because you'll be out in front of most everybody else. By 2038, we're going to see a huge subculture that will become the full culture within 12 years after that. But if that's you want to be out in front by 2038 in order to be out ahead of those cultural movements. So those are the years that we're looking at right now. Unless you've identified a very clear, very small group that is your audience and nobody else is. And by the way, you're still standing against things at that point. For the most part, our messaging is going to be we related.
And is there any indicators that this 40-year swings are maybe shifting a little bit? You know, society is moving very fast. Is there any indication that?
So let me ask you a really simple question. What had more impact on the world, Gutenberg or the internet?
The internet.
See, I would argue Gutenberg because there was no mass communication before, and what the internet did was speed up mass communication. But what I can tell you is we have centuries of time between when Gutenberg came out and today, and only a couple of decades, 3 decades from when the internet came out to today. What I can tell you is that Gutenberg did not change the physiology and psychology of the human being. And short of putting implants in people, currently, we don't see any physiological or psychological change in how we gather and process data. That doesn't mean that there aren't changes, but in terms of in terms of looking at the cultural movements, that's not obvious. The other thing to note is that when you do this kind of research, you need hundreds or thousands of years to be able to compare the data. So even if there were minor changes going on right now, which we can't see, we won't have enough of that data for 1,000 or more years to be able to look back and know that these changes actually occurred. Human beings grow at an agricultural rate. We change at an agricultural rate, not any faster than that, right? We evolve no faster than any other species. And so that's why these 80-year cycles are fairly clear, because we always take a good thing too far and respond to it and go back and forth. But beyond that, yeah, evolution is a slow process.